Divine greetings, ones and zeros, zeros and ones, boys and girls that are now men and women, kings and queens, gods and goddesses, spiritual beings of this divine matrix. Welcome. My name is Clay. Today I want to start off by explaining why it is I say ones and zeros and ones. I say ones and zeros and ones because in my experience, that is the simplest way for me to acknowledge the physicality that is in existence, where one is similar to masculine and zero is similar to feminine. Everything comes from zero. That is how I see it. Zero represents nothing. It also represents everything. However, on the sequence of linear thinking, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it goes 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then it goes back to adding a 0. So then 9, and then you say 10. You have to add a 0 to get to 10. So then you have to start again if you would have that perception. So I say ones and zeros because 1 is masculine, 0 is feminine. 0 is the point from which everything emanates. Everything comes from a point of nurturing. 0 is nurturing. Everything comes from a point of infinity. 0 is infinity because you have to keep adding a 0 every time you get to somewhere to keep going. So 0, that addition of that 0 is representing that you're not to forget that you are coming from a place where you do not know. So that is why I say ones and zero. And I'll go a little bit further to say that when you come from a place that you don't know and you step into the known, the moment you step into the known, you are actually saying that you are in a state of an illusion. And you have to remember, you have to keep in mind, you have to keep a balance that you do not know. Because if you say that you know, and only that you know, you are in a state of illusion, because that is a state of separation. The unknown is where reality dwells, is where truth dwells with the known. It's where infinity dwells. It's where wealth dwells. It's where abundance dwells. It's where sanity dwells. So that is why I say ones and zeros, zeros and ones, boys and girls that are now men and women, kings and queens, gods and goddesses, spiritual beings of this divine matrix. Trustfully, that explains what it is that I'm saying very well. And as usual, if I need to, if there's something that I need to clarify, please comment and let me know that there is something that is unclear to someone. As we are here, I'm here being vulnerable so that we can have a like-minded conversation, so that we can trust each other and have a space of clarity between us. Now, this topic today came on the back of the narrative or the share that I gave yesterday, or the last share that I gave, which this one is saying, bridging earthly struggles with celestial insights for profound self-restoration. That is, bridging earthly struggles with celestial insights for profound restoration. And I found myself checking into this topic on YouTube because after I gave the share, the last share that I gave about wounded healers, I found myself having to heal myself. And this came because in that share, I unearthed something that I wasn't very familiar with. I unearthed or unseated a demon that represents my mother, and represents my motherhood wound, to be specific. And that demon was coming from that I was not familiar, I was not aware actually that my mother had abandoned me when I was 3 or 4 years old. Actually, when I was in the video, I believe I said when I was 4 years old. Now, as I'm doing these videos, I'm getting insights into my own self. As I'm being vulnerable with everyone, I'm getting insights into my own self. These insights come through one of the primary modalities of the inner childhood work that I've done. And I've mentioned this before, where the inner childhood work that I had done and I keep doing, I keep being directed by my partner to Vicky Howie. And she has a YouTube channel, and on her YouTube channel, she does inner childhood work. And she does it through the chakra system, which is a system that I'm familiar with, that I've gotten familiar with in handling or in learning my technology of a soul, my technology of a body. The chakra system has 9 points. It has more than 9 points, but I choose to use 9 points. Or when I started, I chose to use 7 points. Now I use 9 points. And that chakra system is very good in determining where things are happening in the human body, in the human soul. So, as I was going through the process of the last message, and I unearthed that my mother also abandoned me at 4 years old because my father had abandoned me. And when my father abandoned me physically, my mother did not nurture me into making me aware that your father abandoned us. Your father has abandoned the family. My mother did not make me aware of this. So I grew up having the ideology that my father was present in the home, or that my father was present as a family man in the home, even though he wasn't there. I know it sounds crazy, because if he's not there, he's not there. However, as I explained before, he left for America. I was in Jamaica, and this is something that is done common in Jamaica, where the father, or it's mostly the father, that leaves and go abroad to make to get financial provisions for his family. However, in his case, in the span of 16 years, I saw him only, I believe, I saw him 5 times and spoke to him probably less over the phone. So, needless to say, he abandoned the family. And my mother did not make me aware that he abandoned the family physically, or emotionally, or mentally, or spiritually, or soul-wise. So in her not making me be aware of this, I recognize that she also abandoned me. She abandoned me not physically. She was very there physically. She was very present there with me, for me physically. However, mentally, she was not there. Emotionally, she was not there. Soul-wise, she was not there. Spiritually, she was not there. She had abandoned me. So I came to that realization in that share. And I have to continue to say, even though my partner had mentioned it to me before, I had not accepted it. It was in that share that I fully accepted that my mother abandoned me at 4 years old. Now, that being said, I'm going to go forward to an even deeper discovery that my partner had said to me, that your mother abandoned you upon conception, which is absolutely true. And I had to check in with my peoples. I had to check in with my inner children, my inner nation, my inner galactic beings, my inner self. I am 44 years old, 44. So I have, on this earthly plane, on this soul incarnation, I have 44 beings that I'm working with internally. So when I checked in with my inner nation, everyone agreed that is absolutely true. My mother abandoned me upon conception. And this ties into a story or a narrative, a share that I gave earlier also about coming to 1 year old. That is a core memory that I have. Being 1 year old and seeing my mother and my father fighting, not physically, they were arguing. And in that argument, I chose to take my mother's side. And in taking my mother's side, I picked up my motherhood wound. And in picking up my motherhood wound, I neglected to see that she had to remember, actually, because it's something that I was aware of. I had known it. Let me correct myself. I had known it. However, I was not in the awareness of it. So in being aware of it now, I'm being reminded that I knew of it coming into this world through her portal, through her womb. So that is something that yesterday I was processing. Now, it took me a long time to get here to this part of the share, but here I am. So yesterday, or this rising, when I got up, I was feeling anxiety. In feeling the anxiety, and I want to remind us of the title of this share. It's called Bridging Earthly Struggles with Celestial Insights for Profound Self-Restoration. And the reason why I did that is to remind myself of the celestial aspect that I just mentioned. So the celestial aspect of the healing that I was just mentioning, as I talked about the chakra system and my inner beings. All these inner beings are not only earthly beings, they are celestial beings, because we come here with our celestial nature intact. We come here with our star wars, if you want to put it that way, with our star charts. Our star charts is based on our birth chart. And our birth chart has to do with our soul map. Now, for me, I was born in 1981, October 1981. And in being born in October, I'm Libra, Libra sun and Aries moon and Scorpio rising. So when I mention these aspects of my being, this is to tie into the cosmos. This is to tie into the celestial nature of our being. So when I celebrate or when I honor my solar return, or you could say my birthday, or Jamaicans we say, or Earth Strong, some of us say, this is to celebrate my cosmic nature. This is to celebrate my celestial nature. So this is how it is that I'm tying this whole process of being an earth being, of facing earthly challenges, with facing or tying it into my celestial body, right? For healing, because it is my celestial nature, my cosmic nature, my galactic guides. It's my divinity, divine source that comes through divinity, that is providing me with the nurturing capabilities of Mother Earth, Mother Gaia, of Mother Universe, and as Sister Myra would say, Daughter Earth, providing that nurturing care so that I may have this revelation. And as I'm having this revelation, have the experience that I signed up for. Having the experience that I charted the course through the stars, through the cosmic nature of our being. So that is why I wanted to remind us of why it is the title says what it says, and how it ties into this profound earthly healing of my body, of my heart, soul, and mind, so that I may have a sane response here on earth rather than a convoluted, complex reaction. I want to have a sane response. So, in developing that sane response, when I got up this rising, I was feeling anxiety. And as I was feeling anxiety, I decided that, or my cosmic nature came to me and said, okay, you need to meditate. And my earthly body rejected or resisted, not rejected, resisted, and resisted saying that it makes me feel worthless to simply lay there and not do anything, to lay there and say that I'm meditating when sometimes I know I'm not meditating. Sometimes I'm actually depressed and I go to sleep. This, however, was not one of those times where I was depressed. I was actually feeling the anxiety. So in hearing the explanation within my soul, within my inner nation, within my imagination, within my image nation, right? As I was hearing my soul having the conversation, I went to meditate, and I was meditating for quite a bit, for at least 3, 4, maybe even 5 hours. And it was coming out of this meditation that I realized that that anxiety that I was facing is grief, right? Because anxiety is a heightened sense of, you could say, disturbia, a heightened sense of disturbia where one wants to get away from themselves. They want to move. They don't want to think about what it is that they're thinking about. They want to get away from themselves. Versus depression. Depression is more where you want to sit in it. You don't have a care to move anywhere. You're not mobilized to do anything. You become sunken in to a space of darkness. You don't want to rush out anywhere and get away from yourself. You want to sink into that deep, dark despair of your soul, or of your the chaotic portion of your soul, so deep and so dark that you don't move. That is how I describe depression. However, in this instance, I was feeling anxiety. And in feeling the anxiety, I recognized that the anxiety was coming out of grief. And that grief was a denial. I was denying, I was facing the explosion that had taken place within my inner nation regarding what I had unseated the day before, which is that my mother had abandoned me also. Not only my father. I had done soul work and keep doing soul work relating to my father and my father abandoning me. However, I was not seeing that my mother was complicit in the whole thing. So even though I saw that my father abandoned me and that I abandoned myself, I was not holding my mother accountable for abandoning me, which means that I was not healing my motherhood wound. And that came out throughout the course of the night. And those parasitic energies within my body, within my soul, they had a revolution, they had a rebellion. And upon waking up, I had that anxiety in my soul where I didn't want to do what it is that I was supposed to do. I was out of my mind. I was a bit insane, you could say. So that is how I was seeing the anxiety, and going into meditation and recognizing that that's what I was feeling. I came to the to this share where I can say that I am grateful that I did that previous share, because in that previous share, it allowed me to unveil, to uncover a portion of myself here in front of everyone, vulnerable to the collective, as there is no need to hide. There's no need to hide anything in this day and age of the Aquarius, where everything is visible, where everything is possible, where everything is plausible, where everything is probable, where everything is truth, love, light, beauty, goodness. And I thank you for being here as I unveil my true self in this spiritual awakening process, as I've gone through schizophrenia and I continue to go through these schizophrenic processes, as I've gone through the mental break and I continue to rewire my mind. As I take a deep breath, the breath of life, and I trust that whoever comes upon these messages are like-minded beings that are willing to share in this like-minded nature that we have. And send me an email. I'll have to remember to put my email there, and we can build a community by starting with an email, then maybe a phone conversation or something like that. However it is that the Spirit leads us to communicate. We should not be afraid to communicate with like-minded people. As I've come into the understanding, nature abhors a vacuum, which means that when you see like-minded ones, when you come in communication with like-minded ones, if you do not keep that space filled with like-minded ones, what you're doing is you're now leaving that space for unlike-minded ones to be in that space. And that is going to bring further chaos to you. It is going to bring further chaos that I do not accept. Because to accept that is to deny my true self. So I accept that there is chaos. I accept that there is also a space for like-minded beings to communicate, a space for like-minded beings to be with each other. That is what I accept. And please remember to like, comment, subscribe, share if you dare. As I say, Ashe, Amen, and Namaste. Each one, reach one, teach one.